Hi everyone! In this presentation I will be discussing photosynthesis in cacti, how it differs from plant photosynthesis, and the benefits of its differences. So to understand how cacti photosynthesis differs from common plant photosynthesis, we must first be informed of what photosynthesis in general involves. Photosynthesis involves, as pictured, using sunlight energy, carbon dioxide, and water to yield glucose, which is harnessed in cellular respiration, which, in turn, allows both cacti and plants to grow and internally function effectively. So before we begin to contrast cacti and plant photosynthesis, I'm going to point out some basic similarities between cacti and plant characteristics involved in photosynthesis. One similarity is that they both have stomata, which aid in the diffusion of carbon dioxide and the releasing of oxygen. Also, as defined by the 2016 Plant Structure and Photosynthesis article, the lower surfaces of the leaf is a transparent layer of cells called the epidermis. Epidermal cells secrete a waxy substance that forms a waterproof coating called the cuticle. Accordingly, both cacti and plants have waxy cuticles, which mainly aid in retaining water. Another similarity is that they both use sunlight energy, water, and carbon dioxide to yield glucose, also known as sugar, which is essentially a source of food and energy for both cacti and plants. Now, what are the key differences between plant photosynthesis and cacti photosynthesis? Well, first off, plants either use C3 or C4 photosynthesis, which both involve the diffusion of carbon dioxide into their stomata, which are holes present in their leaves. On the other hand, cacti specifically use CAM photosynthesis, which, according to Kahn, stands for crassulation acid metabolism photosynthesis. CAM photosynthesis takes in carbon dioxide at night, as opposed to plants, which often take in carbon dioxide during the day. So, stomata in plant photosynthesis open up during the day, whereas the stomata in cacti or CAM photosynthesis have the unique characteristic of only opening up during the night to take in carbon dioxide. Thus, the key difference between plant and cacti photosynthesis is the timing of their photosynthesis. Also, unlike plants which have leaves that do photosynthesis, cacti have sharp spines that don't do photosynthesis, and which mainly act as protection and as a means of retaining water. In addition, unlike plants whose photosynthesis takes place in leaves, cacti's photosynthesis takes place in its stems. And although I pointed out earlier that both plants and cacti have waxy cuticles, the key difference is that plants have thinner waxy cuticles, whereas cacti have thicker waxy cuticles. And in the next few slides, I will get into discussing how the differences of cacti photosynthesis are beneficial for cacti. So the benefit of CAM photosynthesis, which occurs in cacti, is the fact that stomata open up at night during CAM photosynthesis. The stomata of cacti have the unique characteristic of only opening up during the night to take in carbon dioxide when, according to Kahn, humidity tends to be higher and temperatures are cooler. Because cacti are adapted to live and grow in extremely hot and dry environments, cacti stomata only opening up during the night to take in carbon dioxide is beneficial because it reduces the loss or evaporation of water as the process occurs at night, which is a far cooler environment. The carbon dioxide taken in by the stomata, as stated by Kahn, is fixed into oxaloacetate by PEP carboxylase, the same step used by C4 plants, then converted to malate, or another type of organic acid, which is stored inside vacuoles until the next day. The 2019 Cacti/Desert Succulents article further explains that the CAM process includes a way of chemically storing the carbon dioxide until the sun comes out, since glucose can only be produced in the presence of sunlight. So, by completing the photosynthetic processes at different times of the day, cacti benefit from this since it will prevent them from withering or drying out, even when living in hot and dry settings. Unlike most plants which have leaves that can undergo photosynthesis, most cacti have visible thorn-like structures known as spines, which are not able to perform photosynthesis. Although cacti spines do not perform a photosynthetic function, cacti spines are used to protect themselves from anything that wants to eat them. The spines of cacti also help to minimize the amount of water loss during transpiration. Photosynthesis in cacti takes place in their main body, or according to the 2017 Prickly Pear Cactus article, they're developed broad, flat stems called pads, which are the large, rounded, flat segments that form the cactus's body. In very hot environments, leaves of plants often wither and die, so the benefit of cacti conducting photosynthesis in their stems helps cacti continue to live, grow, and survive in extremely hot and dry environments. Unlike cacti, plants' waxy cuticles are not as thick as cacti's waxy cuticles. Not having a thick waxy cuticle like cacti is okay for other plants, since those plants are adapted to living in damper locations and are not as prone to drying up and dying. So the benefit of cacti having a thicker waxy cuticle than plants is that it allows the water in cacti to not evaporate as easily, thus aiding its sustainability in hot and dry conditions that cacti often live in. Additionally, because they have the ability to conserve a lot of water even in dry conditions, cacti can still continue to grow and live for a long period of time even when water is scarce. The waxy cuticle not only helps retain as much water and moisture, but it also defends the mesophyll layer, which contains the cells involved in photosynthesis. This feature is especially beneficial for cacti since its thicker waxy layer will help save energy in cacti photosynthesis by preventing the loss of water in extreme temperatures. Although photosynthesis in cacti and plants have differences and similarities, it is evident that those varying and similar characteristics are adapted for the benefit of cacti and plant development.